Oh, we're here. We're still trying to get our shit together. Hello, folks.
Gosh.
There's
Hello.
nobody here yet anyway. It's all good. And I just cut this out of the audio part, just not the video part. So the people that see this later, hi, we're trying to figure out what's happening.
No microphone today. That's all
No
right.
microphone?
It's an illusion. Let
Yeah.
me let me know if it kicks in later, but you can hear me enough.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound good. You sound clear.
All right. Well then
Yeah.
let's
Let's pod.
let's pod.
Let's pod. Let's fucking pod. Hey
Not bad.
everybody. How
Not
we
bad.
doing today, Tiffany?
All right. How are we doing today? Well, it's hot in Los
It is hot.
Angeles
Yep.
right now. Um it's been a busy morning, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to be here on this couch with you for this hour of
Let's
dedicated
go.
time for potting. How are you?
Lucy's here too.
Almost birthday boy.
Where'd she go? Oh, hey, buddy. Um, I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
still not a day
David's
older
birthday.
yet.
David's birthday is tomorrow.
It is. We'll see if anybody remembers.
How are you feeling about that? Birthdays always kind of bring up a lot of stuff for me.
They do. For me too.
I've been
I have a
bringing up
hard
stuff.
time. Yeah, the older that I've gotten, I think too, it's like it's harder as the years go by to like sort of feel celebratory, especially like this. Like Allie's gone. Allie's in Saudi Arabia, so I'm alone for my birthday, which is what it
Mm,
is. But they get different because like it's not a significant number. It's not like a milestone number. Like now, it's like each decade, I guess, is like the milestone, and everything else is just sort of the filler in between. So I'll be 43, which I guess is like backwards of my lucky number. So maybe that means something. Maybe
okay.
um, I don't know.
Numerology, we're into it.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Like my new tattoo is, I can't see it on there. I don't know how to even do that because I'm doing the mirrored thing.
Good thing.
But it's 7:34 is the time on my tattoo because 34 is my lucky number. 3 plus 4, 7. 4 plus 3, 7. So hey,
Okay. I like this way of
you know,
thinking.
yeah, I think it could
Yeah.
work. It's all
Yeah.
good. I can't stop it. So really, all we can do is be grateful
Lean
to be
in.
here and I'm healthy and I don't that number feels weird to me. I don't feel that old. But yeah, one more trip around the sun.
Right. What
Superman
what
comes
they
out on
say,
my birthday.
age ain't nothing but a number.
It's true. It's true.
That's what Aaliyah used to say, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I am happy that we get to celebrate each other and for another birthday celebration. We've been
Agreed.
wishing each other happy birthday for 13, 14, 15
Somewhere in that,
years.
I would say close to 15
15.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah, this is probably the 15th time that I will be wishing you happy birthday. And
crazy.
that also, I think, deserves a celebration. So,
I
yes,
like it.
happy almost birthday, David, co
Thanks, my
host.
friend. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, always. Well, let's break a little bit of ice
Let's do it. You
and
got
let's get
stuff?
into some stuff. I got some
I
stuff.
didn't know if you still had ice to break today. You've had a very busy morning. I didn't know.
I mean, I have some that have not gotten used from previous
Ah,
episodes, so I went back into the archives,
very
but
cool.
wondering if you prepared an icebreaker because I told you I might not have
I
some.
had thought of something in my head and now it's not even there. So
It's
maybe in
gone.
the course of you asking me,
Okay.
I'll remember it. Oh, I did remember
Okay.
it. I do remember it.
Oh, you
But you go
do.
first. Yep.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna start with my number two actually. So I'm not really starstruck at this point after living in Los Angeles for as many years as I have and just, seeing random celebrity types on the
Sure.
street at the grocery store in my cycling classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but is there one person that you might still freak out a little bit, maybe on the inside, if you saw them walking down the street or
Oh yeah.
rolling up? Who?
Tom Hanks probably is like the
Oh
still.
wow.
I did see him one time in Hollywood when I still lived over there. I was walking at the time. I had like three dogs, and I was walking three dogs. And had it not been for the dogs and not feeling like I could probably contain all the dogs, I would have walked up to him because he was just like there were these weird little bungalows in my neighborhood that I didn't understand that they were actually production like houses, like little production houses. And I think he was doing one of his documentary series that he was doing at the time. So he was just like, he pulled into his Tesla and like got out, like about two houses in front of me. And I was like, oh, Tom Hanks. Cause like to me, Tom Hanks is like,
Wow.
there's a couple that are like super royalty of just growing up and wanting to come do this. It's like Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise would still probably do that for me. And those are the actors. I think musicians, I would actually like also probably geek out a little bit if I saw like Dave Matthews. I would geek out.
Oh.
Yeah, because Dave made me
Okay.
he made me want to pick up an acoustic guitar more than almost like anybody else in my life. And I've seen him live so many times, and he seems super cool. I'd love to get a beer with him. Yeah, those three. They make
Dave
me freak
Matthews
out.
was like major during our college era,
Absolutely.
right?
Everybody had a Dave Matthews poster in their college dorm room
Yeah.
when they were our
Yeah.
age. Growing up,
I
it was just like
I
everybody.
yeah, he came to our campus, and I had actually not, I mean, of course I had heard of him. I think Crash, right? That
Oh
was
yeah,
like
that was a
the
big one.
big hit around that
Yep.
time. I think I was like familiar enough, but when he came to our campus, oh, wow.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Did
Had
you go see
no
him?
clue. No.
Tiffany, you missed
I'm
out.
sorry.
Live,
I'm
their
sorry.
live show still holds up. Like they're all like older at this point, and they expel all their energy on stage still. And it's all just they're jam bandy. So like it's very
Yeah,
fun. It's a good vibe. Everybody's like, it's like the new wave of like going to see a Grateful Dead concert. Almost like it's like very hippy dippy, but it's
totally.
like it's
Yeah,
really good music, good musicians, and he always has really amazing guest artists that will come and like do a song or whatever with him too. Like I saw him with Neil Young one time. I mean, it's like like legends. I've seen him more than anyone else in my life. Live music. It's awesome.
I
What are you
knew
laughing
this
at me
would be a
for?
good question for you. I
Yeah,
knew it
that's a
would
good
be a
one.
good question. I was expecting a musician first, but actor, I understand. Tom Hanks, that's a good one.
That was like the first one that popped into my head. So what about you?
Well, I've seen him live in concert from the Third Row Center, and he looked dead in my eyes.
Uh-oh.
But I would freak out if I just saw him walking down the street. Bruno Mars all
Oh,
day.
all right.
Like I don't know. I just want like
Incredibly
one
talented.
one night with Bruno. That's all I want.
Wow. All right. I bet he would give you that. I bet he'd be willing to.
From what I've heard
Yeah,
from my friends that live in Las Vegas, I'm sure
yeah.
that he would as
I think
well.
he has a good time in his life.
I think he does too.
He's a
But
little dude.
man,
He's like he's a
listen, he's
mini.
taller than me, honey.
That's
He's
true. That's all
still
that
taller than
matters.
me.
That's all that matters. He's wee. He's a wee man.
Yeah,
But his
5'5",
talent
I think.
is immense.
Massive.
Yeah. And
I've
he was
seen
doing
him.
it like from childhood, like Michael Jackson impersonator, I read.
Elvis as
And
well.
Elvis. Yep.
Little baby Elvis. And I mean, you can see that. Like,
Totally.
yeah.
He's just a showman. And like the band, the fact that they like do steps like while they play music, like that's a lot of what I do as Swirsky is like based within the love of like seeing people playing music and having like a good time doing it. And his whole thing was like almost a throwback to James Brown. And I love it.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Seeing
Love it.
Bruno Mars live is like nothing I've ever experienced.
Nice.
So yeah, Bruno would probably be my
Bruno.
musician. If
All
I
right.
had to choose an actor, oh gosh, I don't know. Marissa Tomei has always been a favorite of mine.
Interesting.
Old school, I know.
Yeah.
Throwback in all the ways. But maybe a Jennifer Aniston. Um, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
gonna stick with Bruno. I
It's
just want
cool.
to see
I love
Bruno.
it. That's Allie got to
Um,
do a producers guild thing where like it was like everybody who's everybody came through. She was doing like last minute touch ups for anyone who needed it. And so she met Jennifer Aniston and like all of the people from Friends. And then Tom Cruise came in and she said like it was just one of those things like everybody, even all the celebrities are kind of like, it's Tom Cruise. Cause like it's just, and he's apparently just as gregarious as you would think, like just big old smile, like looks everybody in the eye, isn't like above anybody. Like also cause he's short, but
I was
like
gonna
very,
say
very
also a mini.
pleasurable. Yeah. He's mini as well. Probably wore lifts. She said he didn't seem as small as you would have thought he would be in real life.
Yeah,
Cause
big
Allie's tall.
energy. Neither do
Yeah,
I. That's what I hear.
absolutely. I know.
Big energy is what we talk
Yeah.
about.
6 foot energy, 5 foot body.
5'8". 5'8"
5'8".
energy.
All right, that
Okay,
works.
give me your icebreaker. Go.
Okay, if you could have the career, it's kind of similar. If you could have the career of one famous person, whose career would you take?
Mm.
It's difficult.
Wow. That is difficult. Um,
Or let me ask it a different way, maybe. If your career could go on the exact trajectory of someone else, who
I
would
mean,
that be?
Angela Bassett has always been like a North Star to me.
Nice.
Um, I mean, I would want a little bit more of like movement and physicality
Okay.
in my journey. So I'm trying to think of someone else that has like a very similar success rate and variety of projects, but that adds a little bit more like to it.
Huh.
Dance and
So Beyonce. I'm kidding.
gosh.
I'm kidding.
Oh gosh. I mean, sure, who wouldn't want to be
I was
filming
gonna say
Beyonce?
that
Jesus.
career
But
wouldn't suck.
no, not at all. But Angela Bassett has always been just kind of like a dream.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
a interesting name. I wouldn't have like
Really?
initially thought of. Yeah, well, I mean, like it's an awesome name. Like once you say it, I'm like, okay, cool, makes sense. But like,
Yeah.
it's not a name that would be like in my head necessarily. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, Angela, she did do the Tina Turner movie, so that was
Yeah.
allowed her to dance and move. But I don't know, like I would want a little bit more, like I would want somebody that has like an Angela Bassett film and TV career, but that also has done a musical on Broadway.
Nice. All right. All right.
Like that's the kind of like full scope of career that I would desire. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Angela Bassett
Nice
plus
work.
Broadway
All right.
musical.
All right.
What
All
about
right.
you?
I actually don't know.
You
I
don't know
knew
the
that
answer to
was
your own question?
no. I didn't really think because I could justify a lot of names, and even like with what I was talking about before, like Tom Hanks is clearly like like a male America's sweetheart. I mean, like there's something about like he's just
Oh,
classic movie star, has done like, won Oscars, like done like really quality projects that like, changed how people thought about stuff and like, blockbusters, things like that. But I was just listening to the James Gunn armchair expert and like there's something my perspective has been shifting a lot to go from these people that are like actors first and foremost and more than anything else. And like Tom Hanks is probably still a good one for me because he did like that thing you do. He wrote it and he directed it and so he's done that, but that's not like how he's known anymore. But I think like as I kind of go through this shift for myself to be wanting to do more like production and writing and like creation, there are like other names that pop up like a Quentin Tarantino or like, like even James Gunn or like people who have like thought they wanted to be performers and then like found themselves being like, oh, actually I want to make the world. And, so yeah, I guess Tom Hanks is the easy answer, but there are other answers that like, if I thought about it more, I'm sure I could think of other names that are like writer, director, musicians who have also like acted. I mean, I'm always like really, really intrigued by that too, because I think that those go so hand in hand. But again, like when you're directing or writing or whatever, like you have the power to actually say what music you want in the film too. And so
mm,
that's like the more that I was just cutting reels for myself as like more of like a creator reel where I have the stuff that I've composed scores for and like the stuff I've written in addition to like my TV and film stuff that I just like booked. And so I think I'm in that like mental space of like sort of thinking of my career in a different light. So I think that's where that question came from, and like why I
I
don't
like
have like
that.
a clear answer, because I'm like still in that shifting sort of like movement from one thing to another, you know?
Let's circle back to this one.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
Yeah, I like
All
that
right.
too. I feel like we broke some ice.
Yeah,
What do you
ice has been
think? Yeah,
broken. Yeah, let's
ice is
do it.
brokered.
Broketed. So today, I didn't prepare a cool tag. We'll just hide this. That way, like when we want to have, some video, it doesn't
Okay.
have that little thing on there. Um,
Okay.
so I'm gonna set this up for folks that are here. Oh, we got two people watching. I don't know who you are, but thanks for being here, friends. I just saw the two up
Wow.
at the top. So we've touched on this before, and what happened was what happened was we got done with our episode a couple weeks ago,
Mm,
and basically this journey of us creating this podcast has had the extra element of social media building, trying to create a following, trying to get people to understand what we're doing, all of these kind of things. And both Tiffany and I have had our own experiences with our own personal social media running that, running outside entity social media that has nothing to do with us, and then running social media that has like adjacent to do with us, whether that be my like alien donkey, my Swirsky, and then for you, I know you've had other projects too, like you do the tap dancing crew and things like that, where you've had other
mhm.
elements that I'm sure have had a social media thing as well. So we were talking about some of the frustrations just privately about like trying to build a following and trying to get people to pay attention to some of the things that we're posting, and the sort of mental tax that takes from you while you're doing it. And I sort of had this like epiphany for myself that was like, I voice texted Tiffany, because that's now how we communicate a lot after we talked about that in the pod, because it is kind of nice in these moments where it's just like on my brain and I don't really want to type it out. I
Yeah.
just want to say it. And I was like, we should talk about social media, and we should really talk about social media and mental health and like strategies for getting over some of the humps. And I felt like with this specifically, I think we both have a lot of perspective in different ways, from what we've done and from where we are currently and all of those kind of things. And I feel like when you were feeling some frustration specifically with some of the stuff of building this and not getting, like attention on it as much as we would love for it to have, just, instantly, because that would just be great.
Yeah.
My perspective of over the last 3 to 4 years trying to build different projects that were outside of myself from the ground up, like from zero, to try to get them to have something to make it worth your time and effort. I felt like I had some perspective on that might be worth sharing with people that are in this world, with you, with anyone else who's kind of in this thing. Cause there's a big, it's a big topic. Social media and mental health are, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you think of it, go hand in hand a lot now. And I think a lot
Hmm.
of our worth somehow as performers, people, all of that is sort of now entangled with likes and clicks and comments and engagement and whatever that is. It has bled into acting. It has bled into creation in general. And then in truly the stuff that I chose to do that was like in that world when I was terrified of that world, to like dive in and be like, let's just hope for the best. And then to have had some success with it. I think there's perspective in all of that. So that's kind of where we're going to be today.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an important topic of discussion. It's a hot topic. It's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So it's and it's ever evolving also,
Yeah,
right? Like
absolutely.
week to week sometimes, day to
Yep.
day
Yep.
sometimes. So yeah, I think that you are an awesome person to have this conversation with because of all of the different types of efforts that you have put forth in social media, and to now finally be seeing some success
Yeah.
with one of those. You've seen success with multiple, but not
Pretty much
at the
one.
same level.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at this level that you've reached. And yeah, I think that starting from zero is really difficult.
Yes.
um, with and starting anything from zero is difficult, but there are so many things. Like, I think that you starting your content creation, your project from zero, wasn't necessarily the same place. Not every zero is created equal, I guess is what I'm
Sure.
trying to say. When you're diving into your Dave Swirsky stuff, you were building on a foundation that was already laid, right?
100%. Yep.
Not only like character wise, but also you have an audience for anybody that likes the Bears and
Yep.
anybody that likes football and sports in general, right? Like, there's
Yep.
an audience for that. With our podcast, just speaking to where I'm starting from zero with us right now, there's a million podcasts out there. It's a
Yep.
completely oversaturated industry. And to get people to stop in the middle of their day, thank you to our two watchers and listeners right now,
Yes.
to get people to stop in the middle of their day to like show up for something like this, that's like a crazy ask,
Yep.
right? And it's also even it's become so difficult to even just get people to support you with a follow,
Yeah.
right? Like, I've got some recent friends that have unfollowed me but still are like my friend in
Weird.
life, in the outside world, but they've unfollowed me because they use their social media as business, and it's
Who are these
not.
friends? They
I
shouldn't be
know,
unfollowing
right?
you.
That's what I'm saying. It's a sticky situation. It's a very weird place, this social media land, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't exist, but it exists like everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like getting people to support you in the regard of just like a simple follow. Now it seems difficult. Getting our own community involved and on social media and following us seems like a very difficult task because everybody is so wrapped up in their own stuff. And I completely get that
Yeah.
from an artistic and a creative standpoint. But it's like, how do you get people to care in
Mm-hmm.
2025? You know what I mean?
Totally. And I do think the one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about is the difference fundamentally between a personal social media account, like trying to promote yourself,
Hmm.
versus trying to promote something that's very much outside of you, or like adjacent, like I said before, like something that is clearly you, but like it's a new project, which this podcast is an interesting one to sort of use as a case study, because it sort of does both, because we are very much talking in every conversation we've ever had here very vulnerably, sometimes divulging things that we wouldn't necessarily put out in public, about auditions
Yeah.
or about like our frustrations with whatever it is. And so it toes this line of like, we're putting ourselves out there, which is then it becomes a loaded thing to actually hit send or hit post on something,
Yeah.
because like that there's some extra I don't know, there's like an extra what's the word, like there's an extra stimulus to it, I guess. There's an extra layer to it that makes it a little bit more complicated and a little bit more difficult to to either get no attention from or then to get attention from, because either of those things can sort of like trigger you to feel good or bad or indifferent. And that's, I think one of the things I sort of wanted to start out with is like, and I'm going to read some of my notes, is I read a bunch of articles on like Pew Research and some other medical research based on mostly kids, because that seems to be where a lot of the research has been based, is to see like mental health wise how it's negatively impacting teenagers. So a lot of the studies are between 13 and 17-year-olds. And in like the Pew Research study that I read about, 48% of 13 to 17-year-olds that were surveyed said social media has a negative impact on their life. 45% say that they spend too much time on social media.
Mm.
But 74% say that it makes them feel more connected to their friends. And
Mm.
63% said that it gave them a place to show off their creativity. So that is a weird box to try to digest all of those numbers, because 48% negative feels like, why is everybody so obsessed with it if literally half of the people using it are feeling terrible while using it. But
Mhm.
you get to those last two, and those are the things that, like, when it's working well, your sense of community can be enhanced. Your sense of belonging to other people can feel enhanced. And you definitely, Swirsky is a great example of that. Like, I get to be creative in a way that I didn't know where to put that until I found this little community. And you're right with that one specifically with Dave Swirsky. It was strategic, right? Because basically I had tried and failed, or tried and not succeeded multiple times to do other things. So like, even with my own, I went through a period, and it was COVID, I think, is like an elephant in the room too, that like really did sort of like drop a
Yeah.
bomb on all of this, because then everybody was inside. So all we did was literally just like, people would
Yes.
scroll, or they would watch Twitch, or they would, like, people were so inside that was our lifeline to feeling like there was more than like what we were experiencing on our own. Like, you could, watch these entertainers. And I was late. Had I gotten into Swirsky during COVID, I feel like I'd probably be in a different
Yeah.
stratosphere right now. But
Yes.
I think so I actually purged a lot of my followers and who I was following in that same time, because I personally, not with my other ones. So I'm talking about like David Hawk, social media right now. I unfollowed anyone on Facebook that I either just went to high school with, that if they walked by me in the grocery store, it was kind of like this litmus test for me, where I was like, if they would walk by me and I don't think I'd know them from my
Yeah.
life,
Sure.
I just like kind of was just like, this feels, to me, it felt like the right way to do it, where it's like, I'm not just trying to build this massive number of people that are like my followers or whatever it is. It was like, I actually think I only want to communicate with people who care or who I actually know. So I tried really hard to pare down, after chasing for so long, like, I need a big following or I'm never going to get the movie. I need a big following or I'm never going to get the TV show. I actually like
Mhm.
eliminated a bunch of my following on purpose to sort of see how that felt. And again, another elephant in the room with this within COVID too is politics, because it became so aggressively gross on every single social media platform for me personally. Again, this is within my personal stuff, to see like every opinion I didn't want to see, or even the ones that I agreed with, to see them just like sort of said
Sure.
so aggressively that it's like, ugh, like, and then you see the other comments of like everybody, they feel like it gives them this platform to say the worst thing in their head because it's keyboard warrior, right? Like, it's like, I don't have to actually say it to your face. I'm saying it to your thing and hitting the button. And like, that feels good because there's no immediate punch you in the face back or anything, or,
Yeah.
verbal exchange that can make you rethink saying that thing. So, I got really caught up in that, eliminated a lot of my stuff. And then I started to kind of dabble more with like, do I want to put myself out there as a musician? Do I want to, like, what do I want to do? And I sort of started doing some Twitch stuff and like putting myself out as a musician a little bit more, got no
Oh, I
traction.
missed this whole part of your life. I didn't know you were on
Yeah.
Twitch at all.
Oh yeah. I twitched and I was doing music cause my friend Matt does it and does it well. So I kind of,
Yeah.
I had done a couple things with him where basically Allie put me in Grinch makeup at Christmas and I would go on and play with him. Cause I've played guitar with him kind of for over a decade now. Like, when he needs a guitar player, I usually say yes. And he would have me do these Twitch things for Christmas where they were always like a big deal. And like, people gave him a lot of money on Christmas. Like, they would give him all these gifts because we were like putting ourselves out there big. And I was like in the fucking makeup and like being
Wow.
giant Grinch, like whatever. And it was fun. And so he kept being like, you should do Twitch. Like, it's like you basically take requests and you play songs. And so I did like a Beatles brunch for a while where every Sunday morning I would do Beatles songs for like 2 hours and I'd have a list. And then if people requested stuff, I would add it in and I would literally sit in here and like play songs. And that was so weird and daunting because like having come from like, playing music on a pretty decent level. And then like now I'm like
Yeah.
in my room for 5 people, sometimes just my
Yeah.
mom and my sister or something, like watching me, like that messed with my head. So I didn't last with that for very long. I started doing some stuff with YouTube where I was putting out covers and things and didn't get a lot of traction. So I was like, trying to figure out what was next. And then I went to Alien Donkey, which was the stop motion animation thing that I did. And I started that from zero. And I got some decent traction. And with that one, I actually experimented too with like doing promotions and stuff to like pay for things. So I like could see how like that could help, because if you do that, the people that are maybe into stop motion that would never find you before, like maybe find you and follow you, and like you would gain followers from it. But it never felt like it was worth, like that juice was worth the squeeze,
Yeah.
And Alien Donkey for me was so much output and so much back end like work for me that it was not like what I was getting back in terms of a following or building was not enough for me to sustain the amount of work it took for me to put those things out. So like that was another failed attempt
Okay,
to
so let me
me.
pause you real quick,
Yeah.
because what I see as an observer of you and your Dave Swirsky stuff, it feels like there's a lot of output there. But
Oh yeah.
because you are receiving the likes and the comments and the shares, and because you're getting something out of it, that is the motivation to help you keep going, is
For
what you're
sure.
saying.
Yeah. But, and with Swirsky, because I'm not doing stop motion animation, which is just tedious and takes forever. Like for me, I couldn't churn out enough content with Alien Donkey fast enough to probably keep people's attention in a social media world where it's like very much like next, next,
Scroll,
next.
scroll, scroll.
Because it would take me an entire week to do like a 2 minute, 3 minute skit. I mean, it
Yeah.
was insane how long it would take me to do, because I was like doing everything, like lighting and all of that, and like lighting in a room that changes throughout the day, which would, if you're doing one movement, like it would change the way it looks. And like I wasn't going for perfection with that. I was certainly going for more of like a experimental. I had always wanted to do this. I wanted to do voices, and I wanted to, like, stop motion was always really interesting to me. And once I started to figure out I could do it, it was certainly experimental, but not getting the reception that I wanted certainly
Yeah.
like made it more glaringly obvious that like this is not worth the amount of time it takes for me to do it. And
That
Swirsky takes me forever, but I can churn out like 3 things in a week, as long as I'm on my stuff, and it kind of keeps going. You know what I mean? So like there, it's very different for me in terms of output and reception for sure.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it before, that consistency is the missing piece to like anything that's
Mm-hmm.
successful, I think, just in a general broad statement. And I think because you have been able to be so consistent with three different types of content that you're releasing, it keeps people engaged and it keeps people interested, like what's coming next, what's coming next. But I think that we're still playing, we're still finding our groove with our social media, and we're still playing and finding our groove within the podcast as well.
Sure.
So I think that our social media is definitely a reflection of that discovery and play that we're in right now. And it is difficult trying to maintain some level of consistency with our podcast, my own personal stuff, and then I run the Gary Marshall Theater the Gary Marshall Theater social media as well. So trying to maintain some level of consistency with all three of those accounts is
Yeah.
so beyond time consuming, let alone what it does to my mental health being stuck in this like device all day, right?
Yes.
But like we didn't do any spoiler alerts today, but we were my homework assignment was to go watch F1 so that we could talk
Mm-hmm.
about it on the podcast. And I had planned on doing that yesterday in my window in between my classes. But the reason I couldn't do it is because I was stuck in social media land, and like things just weren't going the way that I wanted them to go in social media for some reason. Like it just wouldn't post the way that I wanted it to post. And I am way too much of a perfectionist, and I like things to look neat and tidy and pretty, that I just had to keep deleting and restarting and deleting and restarting. and I was getting so incredibly frustrated. But I found some sort of workaround and was able to like get it out. And then by that time, it was like time to go back to work, got to go
Yeah.
teach. So it's not only like affecting the mental, but it also is just like taking up so much space and taking up so much time. And it's this
Yeah.
thing that we all want to be a part of. And there's so many people now that are wanting to transition into the monetization portion of this because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, life is difficult, especially for creatives out here in Los Angeles. And we're seeing so many people that are making money on
Yeah,
these
for
things.
sure.
They're making a lot of money, or they're at least speaking as though they're making a lot of money. So it's making people believe that that is an option.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely have like a love hate relationship with the whole thing, right? Like, I think that social media is a terrible place and it is like destroying our worlds. But
Mm-hmm.
because it's giving every single person on the planet a bullhorn, right?
Yep.
To
Yep.
just like blast all the things that they want to say, whether or not they're interesting or not. They're trying to find an audience. There's an audience for everybody, right? So they're trying to find their audience, but it's like destroying humanity. Truly, I really, really do believe that. But on the flip side of it, like, I want to share,
Mm-hmm.
I want to create. I have this space that I'm still working through my own personal fears with, but like, I have this space that I can put stuff out and I can create things and I can share pieces of my life that I'm so private about normally, but like, I have a place that, you know, some people are interested in and seeing what I have to do, seeing what I have to say and seeing what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I think that that's really awesome. And I want to
Yeah.
dive deeper into that space of sharing. But at the same time, like, I want to make a fucking t-shirt that says hashtag nobody cares about your fucking smoothie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I read a lot about this in kind of prep for this, and one of the biggest things that almost every article talks about is the dopamine response that happens for everybody with social media, and that's why we do it, and that's why we keep coming back. Is that
Yeah.
there is a legitimate dopamine hit from sharing something, and then especially from seeing that people like it, seeing that people care, seeing that people
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and that is the part of it that is addictive, and it's the part that has hooked us all into being slaves to our algorithms on all of these things. And like, you know, when you're killing time at the airport, I was just at the airport a lot, like everybody's on a phone, you know, like everybody's on a
Everybody.
phone all the time, and not necessarily always doing social media. Like I'm not, but there's a lot of times where you go and check, and you know, you
Mm-hmm.
just like want to see what's happening. And that's the other thing, is the FOMO piece is also mentioned a lot in like almost every single mental health article about it, of that being a really major thing that is both good and bad. The good side of that is that like some people will see like, hey, that thing's going on and I want to go do that thing too, and I'm going to go experience that. Like a good
Yeah.
example is like when you get an ad or something on Instagram for an art installation, or like a movie that they're showing at
Yeah.
some random theater, and it's like, I never would have
Yeah.
known that had I not been here to see this.
Exactly.
Some bar that's like, you know, off the beaten path. It's like, oh, this cool bar where they filmed such and such and such. Like, you know, you just like see these things pop up, and then the FOMO is like, oh, I want to go see that thing. I want to go check it out, which is, you know, like why somebody like me was brought to NASCAR, is like so that people would see it and be like, oh, that looks like fun. I want to go. Right. The other side of that is, look how cool my life is. Don't you wish you were like me? That then can negatively impact so many people because they feel like, why is so and so getting to do the cool thing, you know, or well, sure, they get to do the cool thing because they're rich, or they get to do the cool thing because they're connected, or whatever it is. And there's like a very negative side of the FOMO too, that is the flip side of, you know, it actually causing you to want to do more things. And I think that's you know, those things are really big pieces of like, it's literally almost like a drug. Like when it goes right, there's a reason that you
Oh
want to go
yeah.
back and do more.
Oh yeah.
And it's also like when nothing's happening, it can feel really, really bad. And I think that's important to acknowledge too, because what's I think like the strategy that I discovered through my journey, and especially within Dave Swirsky, happened in this. It was actually last summer, so before I got into my second season doing it, and I had like built a really good following. I had crossed some thresholds to like actually monetize and all those kind of things, and then I went to the draft party with the Bears, and they asked me, which to me, like truly like this character that I play is like, it's like really like my inner child. Like I love the Bears. I have forever. And so this like crazy super fan thing built within the SNL world is like very real for me. And it's just like me getting to act out my like biggest cartooniest impulses within my fandom. So like in general, to get invited to their draft party was huge. And then to get to like be on the field, get to go through the locker room, like all these things like meant a lot to me. And then they asked me to create a song of my own that they would then be able to collaborate post. So it was like this like huge level up in terms of my social media, presence and whatever, my journey within that whole thing. So I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I get this thing done, and it had to be an original song. So I write an original song, and like normally what I do are parodies. So this was like a little bit of extra pressure, but like on the flight home from Chicago, I was like writing songs. I was like listening to some of my pieces of songs that I had written, because I have like a bajillion in my notes that are just like, a hook that I, played, or some guitar part that I liked that I just like don't ever come back to. So I found one that I was like, oh, I could turn this into something. So I do it, put that out. The Bears accept my collaboration. They put it out, and they have millions of followers. And at this point I had, especially on Instagram specifically, because this was a collaboration on Instagram, I didn't have as big of an Instagram following. I think I had like maybe in the neighborhood of 10,000, maybe at the time. And, so instantly, and I had my notifications on at this point. This is the big part of the conversation, which also comes back to what we've talked about before with like do not disturb and things. And it's like all of a sudden they share it and my phone starts blowing up, and I'm, you start to see like bam, bam, bam. You're getting like all these comments. And what was initially an awesome dopamine hit became a really negative one, because everything I saw that my phone interrupted me with to say like, this person thinks you suck. This person thinks you're terrible. This person thinks that you should go to hell. This person said never make another song. And there were so many levels to that, because it was my own writing in this one versus like some other song that I made goofy and fun. It was like, this is actually like a song that I like, shared with the world because I was asked to. And it was like, that was the first experience of being shown to a new audience that's not your own, that you have like within my own. I had been cultivating this kind of like community of like people who liked what I did, like people who were into parody songs, people who were into the goofiness, like the cringe factor was like a part of the appeal, not like something that drove them away. And suddenly you show it to every red-blooded, sports fan, whether they like the Bears or not, they're following them. And then they suddenly see this goofy guy singing this song, and in that keyboard warrior mentality clearly took over. And like, while there was a lot of positivity, I couldn't see any positivity, because all I saw was every negative comment, and they all felt like a spear to my heart. Like it was just like, oh God, everybody hates what I'm doing. Oh God. And it literally like spun me out from feeling so good that I had been asked to do this really cool thing to feeling so bad because these little people, many of them who probably like had 5 followers to 10, like they don't matter. And I don't mean that like every human matters, but some of these people don't, because they sucked. And they also like, most of them were either just doing a troll account, or like, this is what they do. They go and they say negative shit on people's comments because it makes them feel better about their small life. And I couldn't see that forest through the trees at the time. And it wrecked me. So long story longer, where that led was what broke everything into a whole new place of peace and mental health and all of the other things for me, was literally turning off all of my social media notifications. And now granted, that I had been awarded that opportunity through my own hard work, that I had a built-in following to where for the first year or so, I was going in and commenting on everything, because I was trying to like, I'm not trying to act like I'm a bigger deal than I am, right? Like I wanted people to feel like they knew me. And so like, and when people were nice, it was fun. Like it was like, I'm commenting in character and people seem to love it. And it was like building, building, building. And
Yeah.
then,
It's
yeah,
engagement. It's building. Yeah, that's what this whole thing is supposed to be
yes.
about, engaging with other
Yep. And
people.
like, and usually having it be mostly good. And then like the 5 to 10 bad ones, you can
Yeah.
kind of sort of ignore because you have enough good. And this one instance, just like I said, it broke me. So I turned off all notifications. And so from that moment, and then going into last season where I had my biggest upswing of anything, like I had over 30 million, somewhere between 30, 40 million plays of stuff last year alone. I didn't
Wow.
have notifications on.
Hold for applause.
Thank you. I do feel like that was, I mean, it's a cool thing to be able to like say as a selling point now to try to like, show that I am legit at this point.
Yeah.
But within those 30 million, I didn't ever get a notification within that time because I took ownership and control of my social media to say, no, I don't get to be interrupted while I'm having dinner or while I'm on a podcast or while I'm whatever going to Target with some shitty person that wants to ruin my day because I'm a sensitive flower. Like it sucks. I'm a Cancer. I am very sensitive to, I want people to like me. Like I want people
Yeah.
to think that I'm good at what I do. I want people to be enjoying my contribution creatively to this society. So the 1 or 2 bad comments that interrupt your day and that you see just don't need to be shown to me. And that was really like a massive shift for me to then my going into social media now is because I want to. Sometimes because I need to,
Hell
right?
yeah.
But like it's
Yeah.
my, I'm able to go in and do it on my own terms. And if I want to look at comments, I decide to go click. And there's always a sense of anxiety of like, I don't know, man. Like, especially like this weekend's another good example. I was doing something outside of my norm. I was like doing NASCAR, which is not
Mm-hmm.
Bears. So I knew most of my following because I try to think about it myself. Like if I was a fan watching this guy who I like as a Bears person because I'm Bears, but I don't like racing, like I'm probably not going to pay attention to the racing things that he's doing, right? And that's okay. Like I'm okay with
Sure.
that. But like, looking at comments was like a little bit more apprehensive to do it within this, but owning that power, I think that was when we had this conversation really where I felt like maybe that
Yeah.
perspective is helpful because even if you're coming from zero, you're the fear of missing some comment or some message that like has to be responded to in the moment. That's dumb. Like it doesn't. It's still gonna live there, and you are gonna go check it because you're building something. So like eventually you will go see
Yeah.
it. You will respond, and you will still have that piece of it without the need to like either see all the bad things or see nothing, right? Because like the other thing is like you post something and nothing happens, and it's like, why isn't my phone going off, right? And both of those are equally
Sure.
shitty. So I don't know. There's my perspective.
Well, there's also something very much to be said to the fact that we do have people that are engaging with us in our
Yeah,
podcast. We do have people that are impacted by our conversations. We do have people that are
yeah.
listening. I had a friend come over and help. I helped him with a self tape this week, and he wanted to tape for the pit.
How about that?
And I had never worked with him before on a self tape, and it was interesting to me that he chose to reach out to me. And I once he got here, I was like, so why did you? He's like, oh, I listened to your
What?
podcast. I said, what?
That's awesome. That's
What?
awesome.
Oh, right, okay. So he actually said I watch your podcast, which is a
That is a
totally
different
different
animal.
approach, right? Yeah.
Thank you to this person, by the way.
So, yeah, I know. I was really touched by that. And I was like, okay, you know what? We're just at the beginning
Yes.
of this. And like, we have to make sure that we stay the course, stay consistent, and understand that even if we are just affecting or impacting one
Yep.
person, then we are doing something.
Amen.
That is something.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And that is enough fuel to keep us
Yes.
going. It's enough fuel to keep me going for sure. So yeah, it's a very difficult game to play. And I think we can continue talking more and more and more about this, especially because it is an ever evolving place. But I have actually frozen my personal account on Instagram
Oh
twice.
yeah, I remember you saying
And
this.
when you freeze your account, you disappear from the
Mm-hmm.
world. Nobody can find you. You do not exist in that space. Like if somebody's trying to tag you, if somebody's trying to look you up, you're not
Yep.
there. And the first time I did it for 9 months.
Damn.
9 months of being completely gone from Instagram. If people, I'm out having dinner with friends or whatever, and they're talking about something, I'm like, oh, wait, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, oh, because you're not on
Yep.
Instagram. I'm like, yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm absolutely okay with that. But every time that I've done it twice. The first one was 9 months. I want to say the second time was like, oh, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. But every time I have talked about it with people, or mentioned the fact like, oh, I'm not on Instagram right now, they like stop.
What
They
do you
can't.
mean?
It's
Yeah.
like,
How?
what? Like, what do you like? I went, yeah. Oh, I wondered because I went to go look for you and like I just couldn't find you. I was like, oh, I thought she blocked me. That's their
Of
first
course.
thought.
Because you must be there.
Their
Everybody's there.
right. You're the first thought. Oh, she must have blocked me. Oh, I wonder what I did. And so then it just takes them on a whole nother like tangent,
Yeah.
whatever. But the second follow up question or comment is, wow, good for
Yeah.
you. I'm like, I know. But none of these people that have ever said that to me have ever had the balls to do that for
Yep.
themselves, because everybody has this, like, I need to be there. I need to know what's going on. And this is the part that I feel like is really destroying us. But I challenge people to even try to freeze their account for 1 week, not take Instagram off of your phone, because that's different.
Yeah.
You're still there. You're still active in the world. People can still find you. I challenge people, just freeze your account for a week and see how that feels. Because let me tell you, the first time that I did it, and granted, I had just been cheated on. I was going through a breakup.
Oof.
It was a terrible, terrible moment for me. But I took myself out of the equation, and this weight just like instantly lifted off of my shoulders.
Interesting.
I was like, wow, I ain't got nothing to prove to nobody right now. I don't have any of this guilt, like, oh, I've got to post something. I got to get a post up. I gotta. None of that existed for me for 9 months. And it was
Hmm.
glorious. Now, granted, the business that I am in definitely requires some sort of presence in this social media
Yep.
space. And so I'm challenging myself now to not remove myself completely from it, take mental health breaks when I need them,
Yep.
but also just take a different approach. Less consumption, more creation.
Hmm.
I don't need to be in there consuming and taking so much from this space, and like having all of that live inside of here and doing whatever it's going to do in here and here. But what if I challenge myself to just put more out and create and give more to the space as opposed to taking from the space? I think that's a much healthier approach. And, one of the things that I was going to talk about when we do talk about our goods for the
Yeah.
week, our wins for the week, is that I challenged myself to um, not only take myself on a date, like I told you I was going to
Mm-hmm.
start doing, but I wanted to film content of myself doing that. And I wanted to edit that content. And I wanted to post that content. And I wanted to do that all within 24
Nice.
hours. And I did
Good for
that.
you.
And it felt really good. There was not a ton of response and not a ton of feedback. And, side note, it's always like, it's never the people that you're closest
Right.
with that support your stuff. It's always the stranger. Nobody supports you like a fucking stranger on social
It's true.
media. You
Oh
know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
The
Like
one
the
random
people that
person
are
that found
closest
you.
to you, if I
Yeah.
can, yeah, like getting a like out of some of these people these days is like, okay, totally fine. I guess my stuff is
Nah,
cringy
whatever.
to
That's a
some of
stupid
these
word.
people, but
This
whatever.
is
It is a
I have to
stupid
say it or I'm
word.
gonna forget it. So I think a big thing too
Say it.
is I had to write it down while you were talking because I was like, I need to remember that. But I think too, like it's set up to be a reward system, right? Like it's like
Mhm.
what do you get back? So are you putting things out for other people or are you doing it for you? And I think that's like a really big
Mm,
thing. It's another Rick Rubin thing too, that like he says it about art. If you're making the art to sell the record, or if you're making the art because you think that so and so wants to hear it, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think social media is the same thing where it's like, however you want to approach it, is it for you or is it for the following and the audience? Because if it's for you, it will naturally take care of itself to like you'll build something because you're being true to like what you individually. No one else is Tiffany Daniels, no one else is David Hawk, no one else is going to have the same perspective or
yeah.
life, and therefore like to switch that, to flip the switch to say like I'm putting these things out because I want to, because it makes me feel good, versus like I hope this gets clicks, I hope this gets likes. And even with Swirsky, like that's
Right.
the best part about it is like I love the work of that. I love making new parody songs, and
Yeah.
I love the goofiness of shooting here, and I love the edit. And so like that feeds itself because people see that enthusiasm and people see that like relationship to the art itself or to the posts themselves of just like you're not, people can see through that shit if you're doing it for others. It's very easy to see that. And with a lot of influencers, even the ones, some of them that I saw at the NASCAR thing, like it's clearly about them, it's not really about the thing that you're even there to promote. And that's,
Yeah.
I think that's a sometimes hard battle to have, but I think like keeping that in perspective is super important.
Yeah. I think that's a great note to end this social media
Yeah.
conversation on for sure, because it is a fine
Yep.
line.
And
It
it
is a
goes back and
fine
forth
line.
too. It's like a balance beam. It's like sometimes it's a little bit balanced,
Mhm.
sometimes it's way shifted one or the other.
Mhm.
But as long as you can keep a healthy sort of like overall perspective on it, I think that's what it's all about.
Agreed. And that is work within
Yep.
itself. So I do think that there's way more conversation to be
Yeah.
had here. I think we touched on a lot of it, but there's a lot more always for sure. So thank you for bringing that into the pod
Yeah.
today. Um, yeah, we're just about out of time. So why don't you tell me something good,
Tell
David?
me something good. I'm alive and well. I'm going to turn another year older. That's good, I guess.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday
Thank you,
to ya.
Stevie. I think that I mean my good is definitely getting to go to Chicago and having somebody send me to Chicago, which is always a nice part about it,
Yeah.
and to to kind of step into an uncomfortable thing for me. I'd never been to a race, and I had never. I was like, when they asked me to do it, I think my brain kept thinking of like, I don't know, like I don't even know, like they wanted me to talk to rate to like drivers. I'm like, I don't even know like what I would whatever. And the fact that I did interviews with them, they went really well. It was a lot of fun. Not having my person there was like also a big sort of like fear because so far when I've gone out in public, I've had my person
Yeah.
there to like help me film, remind me,
Yeah.
like help me hear that somebody over there is like Dave, like whatever. And I had my other friend who has never experienced that, and was there with me, and she did a great
Yeah.
job. Sabrina killed it. She's my wife's best friend, so it was really cool to have her there with me. But like to pull it off and to have it go well and for to make a good impression and to experience something new when like sometimes getting outside my comfort zone is hard for me, that's a win.
Yeah, 100%. So
Thank
proud
you.
of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. I think this is just the beginning of more and more of those things happening for you and
Let's hope.
Dave. Yeah, for sure. Let's see, my goods. Well, I talked about it one I talked about one already. I'm very proud of myself for taking myself on a
Yeah,
date, which is something I told you I was going to do and I
it's
actually
awesome.
did it. I'm doing it again tonight.
Nice. Where are we going?
And I'm going to the back to the
All right.
theater. I got tickets to another show, so I'm taking myself back to the theater downtown.
Nice.
I love going to see
Hey, hey.
theater. So, that's a win. I had two castings today that went really well. This whole commercial casting world is very much like gambling in Vegas, right? You just got to roll the dice, you just got to be in the moment, you got to be ready. And today I actually felt very much in my body and allowed myself to just be free and like, I felt great about
Good.
it. Whatever result happens from that is out of my
Yep.
control, but I felt good about what I did in the room.
Nice.
So I'm happy about that. And my friend that came over and I helped and coached him on his audition, he was like, "You're so good at this. I really think that you should look into doing this
Coaching?
professionally." And I've coaching,
Yeah.
like doing self tapes and coaching people for auditions. I love doing it so
Good.
much. Oh my god, I
Oh,
love
that's
doing it
awesome.
so much. And I had already like spitballed a little bit thinking about making that a thing, but the idea has like been brought back to the surface now because of my experience with him this week. So that might be another way and place for me in this industry and this business, if I can figure out how to make that happen.
That's
So
cool.
to be continued
I
on
like
that,
that.
but
That is a very
that's
good
a
good.
win.
I like that. It's
Yeah.
like, finding
All
ways to do the
right.
thing that are like connected but like somewhat new is like always super exciting, you know?
Absolutely. Within the
Yeah.
world, under the umbrella of like the thing that I am here to do.
Awesome.
So if I can help other people, absolutely. Why not?
Fantastic. Well, next time that we are here, I will have seen Superman because I'm going to see it by myself on my birthday at 9:45 in the morning in IMAX because
Yes. Oh,
a
yes, you
Superman fan.
are.
That's how I'm celebrating my birthday
Yes,
myself.
you are.
And then I get to pick up the wife on Saturday. So
Amazing.
we'll catch up when I'm back from my trip.
Sounds
Couple weeks.
good. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for another great
Nailed
pod.
it.
I'll see you. Thank you for those that
Yes,
chimed
thank you.
in. Thank you for any listeners that come through on the audio
Yeah, and people
portion.
have questions
And we'll
too
see you
about what
next
we
time.
talk about. Put them in the comments of like if it's a video you're watching, if it's this
Yeah.
YouTube, and you have things that you would love to add to the conversation or have us touch on social media or whatever. Please throw those out because it'll give us more stuff to chat about.
Yeah, you know how to reach us. Let's pod
Let's
with Tiff and David.
pod. We potted. We nailed it. All right.
We
Bye,
potted.
everybody.
Peace out.